Courtside with John Luck. I'm Brian Berard. We're doing a little carousel of hosts here, John, because we'd like to just confuse the absolute bejesus out of people.
I'm getting confused. I don't know who I'm doing the show with anymore.
But that's okay. That's why we decided to match the sweater vest, so that way you and I know that we have to be on the show. Because it's also school picture day, because that's what the sweater vest means.
We should just talk about hockey, Brian.
Let's just talk about hockey. The Boston Bruins have a 2-0 lead over the Carolina Hurricanes right now in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they're just absolutely continuing this hot streak that they've been having in the postseason, John. And Carolina just seems like they're just using it as a practice squad right now.
Well, Carolina, let's not forget, they shouldn't be in this spot right now. Most likely it should have been either Tampa Bay or Washington or Pittsburgh. There's other teams that should be in this spot right now taking on the Boston Bruins. Unfortunately, with the Stanley Cup playoffs, you can be the top seed in your conference and get taken out just like that in a sweep. So Carolina, they have hit their hot streak. Unfortunately, now they're taking on a team in the Boston Bruins that are just as hot, if not harder, than the Carolina Hurricanes. They're very impressive offensively on all four lines, and I've been most impressed with the top line here and the way they rebounded after, I think it was game 2 or 3, because in the first 3 games against Columbus, the top line was really ineffective. I think it was only David Pastrnak that had a goal, but since then, it's not just been the top line producing, it's been all four producing, getting on the puck, playing very smart hockey, not getting into fighting possibilities. I think game 2 against Carolina, with some of those hits that Carolina was laying on the Bruins, you could have seen Brad Marchand, Daniel Charlie McAvoy try and answer back with vicious hits that could be major penalties, if not suspensions. They played the puck. They're keeping their nose on the ground here and trying to win these games, which is very impressive and very important in the playoffs.
I'm glad that you brought up that top line, because David Pastrnak, he was good in that Toronto series, and then all of a sudden he was just nowhere to be found. I meant him in the early part of that Toronto series. Then he was just nowhere to be found. We know he's had that thumb injury. He's battling it, but I don't know what happened to him. He seems to be coming into his own. I don't know if he re-injured it in what was either game 2 or 3 in that Toronto series, and he kind of played a little tentatively, and then I don't know if they gave him a bunch of Novocaine so he couldn't feel his arm whatsoever, but Pastrnak started off hot, really cooled off, and we're sitting there, what's going on with him? And now he's starting to get to that little bit of a groove back.
Let's not forget about Brad Marchand either. I think it's 15 points in the playoffs so far. Marchand has typically been that, mean guy, that rat almost to get under the other team's skin. But right now, I'm more impressed at what he's done as a hockey player, getting the players in the right position, getting some easy looks. And I think that Brad Marchand can continue on this pace here and not try and be that guy to get a cheap shot in. The Bruins are going to have a lot of success in their future.
All right, let's take a look at some of the Bruins postseason leaders that they've been having this year. And as you mentioned, John, they've been getting contributions from pretty much everyone on the team. Charlie Coyle, the Weymouth kid, 6 goals. Pastrnak has 6 goals, and Bergeron with 6 goals. You have Marchand with 5 and Krejci with 4, and then you have 3 others with 3 goals, including Charlestown's favorite, Matt Grzelcyk. So they're getting production from every single player on this team, but you keep saying lines 1 through 4, but they're also getting production from the defensemen as well. As you saw, Grzelcyk, one of your leading scorers, so it's an overall team effort. And the big thing for me is that your defensemen are really getting involved in the offensive play of the game by keeping the puck in the zone. A lot of times you see them back off and they try to play more defense. It's natural for them. They are called a defenseman for a reason. But now that they're starting to try to keep the pucks in the zone, they're getting a lot more shots on net. They're having a lot better chances in the offensive zone. I think this is what really has been helping out the Bruins when the defensemen are starting to become more offensive minded.
And let's not forget, in game 1, Charlie McAvoy was suspended because of a hit he had against Columbus in game 6. So the Bruins could just put an egg out there on the ice and just throw the game away. But it's kind of been this plugging in scenario here for Bruce Cassidy and the Bruins. Just as a side note here, Noel Acciari is set to return to lineup. The only issue is, where do you put him? Because this team has been successful from top to bottom and on the defensive 6, which I think is very impressive here. If you have this problem, you're doing something right as a hockey team in the month of May.
All right, so let's take a look at the rest of the playoffs. Well, there's only one other conference final going on. That's the Western Conference Finals. As you see there, it's tied 1-1. They split those 2 games in San Jose. So, John, for the Bruins, do you think they have a legitimate shot here of not only going to the Stanley Cup Finals? We think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point. Do you think that the Bruins can win the Stanley Cup Final?
I said this before Game 7 off camera here, so we can't pull up my awesome prediction.
So it didn't happen?
Yes, it did. But I said that the Bruins, if they win Game 7 against the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're winning the Cup. they've had everything work out in their favor as far as the schedule goes. No Tampa Bay to deal with, no Washington, no Pittsburgh, no Islanders even. So this works out perfectly. And with a goaltender like Tuukka Rask, who's had all the rest in the world with Jaroslav Halak behind him in net, he's only played 46 regular season games. I think the turning point for this Bruins team is what happened in that double overtime loss against the Blue Jackets inside TD Garden. You could have very easily had a scenario when Tuukka Rask just lets the goal go in and just gives up on the season. But he got back in, and ever since then, he's been probably one of the hottest goaltenders, I think, in the NHL.
All right, so Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight in Carolina, a team that I think they're the only team that has yet to lose at home in the postseason. But, John, if the Bruins come out and they win this game, is it pretty much over for Carolina?
I mean, unless someone gets sick or something on the ice, I think this is over. If they win Game 3 tonight, Carolina's done.
I figure, especially in the first period of Carolina, they have to give you everything that they got. And if the Bruins can still come away with either a tie after that first period or even a lead, I think that's going to bode very well for the Bruins, because if they do win this game tonight, it's over.
I'm going to be interested to see what Dougie Hamilton does now that he's on his own home ice. Does he turn into that little rat that takes a cheap shot? Because don't forget, Dougie Hamilton basically spark-plugged the offensive explosion for the Boston Bruins in Game 1. He went in the box 2 times, and the team gave up 2 goals. So that's going to be very important. And let's not forget the X factor here, what's outside the arena. Hamilton the Pig has been outside the arena during this entire postseason run for the Hurricanes. They're undefeated. Just saying. Could be time for bacon if the Bruins win.
This is something very big to watch. We don't know if Mrazek's going to be in goal or not for the Carolina Hurricanes. That's going to be something to watch out for. So as always, you can watch plenty of our programming on YouTube, including Out of Bounds. Just go to youtube.com and search BTV Access Corporation. So for John Luck, I'm Brian Berard. Thank you for watching Out of Bounds.